Hello, everyone. We're so excited to be here on day 2 in the afternoon to talk about communities. We heard a lot of people mention it up on stage and in some of the plenary sessions yesterday. And I'll just take one quote that I quickly wrote down. Senior advisor John Podesta said, "It's important to get in early in your communities, engage in your communities." He spoke a little bit about why that's important, and we're going to talk more today about why that's important with these two individuals and the companies in this chat. I could not be more excited about having this conversation. I'm lucky enough to work in the LPO and to work on community jobs and justice and think in partnership with all of our applicants and borrowers about how they're engaged in the communities. And both Neva and Ajay are really leading the way. One of the other things that makes this conversation so exciting is they're very different companies, they're located in very different communities, and so it's going to be really interesting to hear their reflections on those. And so I'd love to just open up with that and hear a little bit more about you, about your company, and about the communities you're locating in. So I'll start with Neva.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you all today. I am Neva Burke. I am the Human Resource Leader for BlueOvalSK. It is a joint venture between Ford Motor Company and SK On, which is located in South Korea, Seoul, South Korea. And we are putting together 3 amazing facilities that are going to be producing some electric batteries that will go into vehicles. And 2 of those facilities are in Kentucky, near Glendale and Elizabethtown, Kentucky, probably about 45 minutes from Louisville, Kentucky. And then also in Tennessee, which is very close to Memphis, Tennessee, and Jackson, in between Memphis and Jackson, Tennessee. And so we are so excited to partner with the DOE to really bring forth some amazing opportunities for people, about 7,500 total jobs for BlueOvalSK, and we'll be producing some electric batteries. So we're excited about it, and our batteries are going to be amazing. Most the regular cars that you see with gas-powered engines, they go to 300,000 miles, and then you start to get a little struggle. But the batteries go up to 700, and they keep going. And we're so excited to be able to be a part of this initiative. Our footprint is very large. We have 2 big parent companies, Ford Motor Company and SK On, and we work together as a team to facilitate the startup of all 3 of those facilities in those locations.
Great.
A little bit about my background. I've worked previously for Ford Motor Company in the past for about 6 years, but I have a long history of mergers, acquisitions, working for Thomas & Betts Corporation, other corporations that have transitions, and I've had a great career, but this was a labor of love for me because it's making history. It really is bringing forth a clean initiative that is unmatched in this industry, and we're just so excited to be a part of that.
Great. Thank you. Ajay?
Yeah, so we're a lithium-ion battery recycling company. So after those batteries do reach the end of their life, but also as you make batteries, it's not perfect. Of course, nobody wants high levels of scrap, but it's a reality as you make battery cells to packs. So that's what we take in and recycle. We do it through a 2-phase model. So our first step is where we break down the battery safely. This is all patented technology. We were founded in 2016. I'm a chemical engineer, so I didn't know the answer to that. But we started out 2016, developed this technology, and so we have regional facilities that break down those batteries. We call those spokes. It's like a spoke and hub model, reverse logistics. And then a second facility where we take that intermediate product and make lithium, nickel, cobalt again. So think of it as urban mining, and this is a pathway to produce those critical materials that are sorely needed to make EV batteries and much more domestically and right here in the United States. Just lay it up a little bit as we get into the community piece, and I'll talk about this more. We're in Rochester, New York, actually to be precise, Greece, New York, which is in the greater Rochester area. That's where our large hub facility is. And for that, we have a loan commitment from the DOE for $375 million. That's partly, part of the discussion today.
Great. Thank you so much. We also heard, I thought a really good conversation piece about communities and the distinctions of communities was when David Crane yesterday talked about the difference of the block in Princeton, if you're an Eagles fan or a Giants fan. I've gotten a lot of experience working directly with communities in New York City doing disaster recovery, and I did a lot of the Hurricane Sandy recovery. And what I've recognized so much is that communities are really like neighborhoods, and you really have to get in on the ground and know the people in the communities and hear what they want. And so I'd really love to hear from you as you were getting started up in these locations. How did you develop partnerships with the communities? And I'll start with Ajay.
Yeah, so that second facility I was talking about, the hub, just to lay it up a bit, is really a chemical processing facility. And so when we were doing site selection, it actually dates back to 2019, 2020 sort of time frame. So by the way, this is like pre all this excitement around EVs. And so we were looking for chemical parks really that had existing infrastructure, so we didn't have to invest in the capital costs associated with, steam, different types of gases, whatever maybe that we needed, power. And so we went through that process and actually both looked between Canada and across the United States. One of the things that drew us in the first instance to Rochester, we're actually in the old Kodak business park. So we like to say that we're not only recycling batteries, we're recycling old infrastructure. And so right to the fence line, we have steam, power, all the gases that we could need without having to build that. So from a speed perspective, capital efficiency perspective, and return on investment perspective, made a ton of sense. But the thing that really cinched it for us to the community piece was when we turned up, there was a one-team approach. So we got, the county, the town, the colleges, all in one meeting at the first time that we came to Rochester. And I could tell you, versus other experiences, we didn't have any other experiences like that. So that really tipped it over the edge. I think the key in the buy-in piece, we'll get into this more, one of our challenges in this whole decarbonization supply chain industry is it's very technical. It's actually quite hard to understand, from the outside in, especially batteries. It's a very complicated supply chain. And so I think the first thing is, how do you get that trust, with the community, with the partners, that what we're doing is net actually a good thing? And that does come down to what you're actually doing in the technology. And so we held town halls back to early days. You have to get an all-team effort with local partners and be structured about it. And we're a growth company, right? We were 40 people at that time. So the point is, if you don't do it right, from a business perspective, of course, this is what can add time, derail, cause folks not to be bought in and not be aligned. And so it's in your best interest from a business perspective to do it. Lastly, when it came to the DOE, well, we were doing it all. It just was a matter of helping organize what we were doing to help report.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Neva?
Well, we have had so much success in the communities that we're putting up our facilities. These are startup facilities. And in both of those locations, both Kentucky and Tennessee, there's not a lot of infrastructure around the area that we're actually putting the plant up. And, one of the things that got really, challenging was initially our partners in that community, both of those communities gave us a lot of feedback. So we wanted to make sure that we were human, and we went into the community, opening doors for dialogue and lots of meetings, same as having, we have a lot of chats with people in the communities. We open up our doors to the mayors and all of the different people in the communities that would like to talk to us. We have town hall meetings. We have also partnered with the Department of Education, both in Tennessee and Kentucky. And we are starting to look at how do we educate people in the community on the benefit and the value of this transition. These are great jobs going into their backyards, and we want them to know there's nothing to fear, that we have a strategy of being a good partner in those areas, and we really spend time talking. I know one of the things that I heard yesterday was about how much it costs money. It costs money to do that. We do have community relations people that are dedicated to each location, but we also have just regular dialogue with the community, and that don't cost anything. That's something you can go into the community and do, make sure you know where the decisions are made in the community, and really open up the doors for everyone to give you feedback, listen to the concerns of the individuals, and then really try to highlight the great value of what the company brings to their environment. We've spent a lot of time through Ford Motor Company and SK in communicating, because we're an international company. And although we have two great parent companies and they're very well known and very historical, we still are BlueOvalSK, which is our own entity. So we had to establish what our brand was going to be. And one thing we wanted to make sure we were was a good neighbor. That's very important to us, and we're very serious about it. And I think if you take the approach of just being a good neighbor and listening, you can always do things about what the people are asking, but listening and being willing to do that, I think people really have a lot of respect for you. The one word that I heard mostly is that, we show respect for the people and their interest, and that is really important to people.
That's great. I just going back to my disaster recovery experience, and I think people just want to hear what is going on and have visibility into projects, and they might not get the answer they want, but they want to know what's going on and they want to be able to communicate with people. And yesterday in our workshop, we got a couple questions about, and someone actually did a great presentation on when you start engaging. And some people worry about not engaging early enough, because if you're in the planning stage and you might not go there, or you don't even know exactly what the project looks like, or there's just a lot of open questions. But that's exactly the time to start to talk to people, because you don't want to make decisions and get to a place where you're farther along. And if you end up not going to a community, that's fine, but it's really good to engage early.
Yes.
I'd love to hear more, Ajay, about your relationship with the local community and elected officials and Economic Development Agency in Rochester. It's really a thrill for us to see different parts of the country and how they all operate. And so,
yeah, maybe I'll break it into two phases. So, through the building phase, and then we're getting into operations. So, in the building phase, so we have very close relations with COMIDA, which is the county IDA, Industrial Development Agency in the area. We also have close relations with the local unions. So we at Peak are about 1,000 construction workers on site. So that's quite a few skilled laborers, folks that need to be on site. So that engagement started way, 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 way back. And in fact, we have an agreement on the project that we need to actually go to the local community first for those construction jobs before we can go further. So really trying to prioritize getting those jobs locally, which from a benefit perspective of being a good neighbor, those are tangible benefits that can be seen and you can communicate. So that's something we're already doing through the construction phase. And then through the operations phase, look, I mean, it's interesting, every community is a bit different, right? And so the community that we're in, it has a legacy industrial park, and there are a lot of ex-Kodak employees in the area, and they remember and they have good skill set from that. That's partly what drew us there. But it's also about potentially upskilling or applying their analogous skills from other industries to this industry. And so we've partnered with RIT locally, with a range of colleges locally on longer-term industrial operator training programs. And hopefully as a funnel, that's good for us. We'll have 270 people that we're going to be employing in full operations, but also for the broader basin and community. I mean, I think there's other hydrogen projects in the area, a whole bunch of exciting things happening in Rochester. So I think the point is, got to think near term, medium term, long term. What's a structured plan? I'm an engineer. I like structure and plans, and you can do the same thing for community engagement.
Yes.
That's great. Let's continue that theme. I like the longer term. Neva?
Well, I want to talk a little bit about manufacturing too, because it's changed a little, right? So manufacturing, you would think, cold and, it's not climate controlled. All of our facilities are climate controlled. You could almost eat off the floors. It's so clean. Everything is covered up, and it's a really interesting environment full of technology, all the things that some people like, with dealing with different robots and things like that. So really educating the people in the community on what types of manufacturing or what types of activities you're doing in your facilities, it becomes really important. And then on the short-term strategy, certainly partnering with them on some of their activities, like they have strawberry festivals and different things like that. We go into the community and actually participate in all of those types of activities, and they see the level of respect that we have for them and some of the things that they've been doing for many years. So we did our homework on that. And longer term strategy, we're developing strategies with their high schools and junior high schools and going in and talking to them, educating them, and then also tapping into their STEM programs and some of there's a program that's a FAME program. It's a national program where you can actually grow maintenance technicians, understanding what those programs are and how you as a company, your company can add value has become critical for us. And we make sure we connect with all of those partners and let them know how much we appreciate them bringing us information. So when you establish those relationships, they can be small relationships or big ones, but what I found is that people start to call you because they do build the trust that you talked about, and they call you and they say, hey, there's a school available that you all could have as administrative officer, and that happened to us. So now in Glendale, the small community where the facility is located in Kentucky, we now have rented the entire school that they had an old school that we rented for our administrative offices, and they appreciate that. So those are the kinds of relationships that you can build once you open up that dialogue. And you can't be afraid to open up that dialogue. I've heard companies say, well, they're gonna want us to do all this stuff. You know, the reality is they know you can't do everything, but if you do what you can and really do listen, it does make a difference, and we're seeing that.
Great. One of the things that we see is, and one of the things we really lean into is what the companies and the communities want, right? This isn't about LPO and the Loan Programs Office and the Department of Energy. This is about the communities where we're building and about the companies, clearly, and what they bring to the table. And so it's exciting to see all the unique things that are happening. I'd love you to talk just a little bit about the partnership with the state, both states, to have community colleges that are adjacent or on campus or very close to where you're building, yeah.
Well, we have regular cadence meetings with the Tennessee and Kentucky Department of Education, and we put together, strategy on how we will disseminate information about the company. And then we talk about the things that we need to do, like building curriculum, letting them know what the core skills are that are needed for people to come to work for our company. And we also educate them on the great jobs and benefits of the company, but also we have we've partnered with the states in both of those locations, and we're building a TCAT, like a training center right on site for BlueOvalSK in both locations, where we're gonna be actually opening that up to the community. And it's not just about, people coming to work for Blue Oval, then they now go to this training center that's on site. They could actually go to the training center and go to work for other companies. So it's not just about bringing the people up in terms of economic, development and workforce development in for our facility, but it's about broadening that opportunity for the community so that other companies in that area are not totally worried about, are they going to take all our people? I mean, we get that sometimes, but when they understand that many people coming out of these training centers that we're building right on site on both locations, those people can actually go to their companies as well. It helps a lot to see the broader picture of how we're enhancing the total community and not just because of, Blue Oval, Ford, or SK.
Right, great. Ajay, can you share with us what you think has kind of been most effective in community engagement for Lifecycle, or one of the things?
Yeah, I mean, it's multifaceted. I mean, I think maybe two things. I think one, in the communication approach, again, is trying to make things digestible. Like our facility is taking in intermediate product from shredding up batteries and then turning it into new battery grade materials again. And so, just trying to help explain what that is and also what it's not. Because I think sometimes when you hear chemical processing, I think the mind jumps to, especially for this community, some of the legacy activities that were there. And so I think it's just making things digestible and frequent communication. It's not going to be once, it's not going to be twice, so you should say 5 times, just even in our company. But you got to say things 5 times before it kind of sinks in. So I think the same goes for building that trust and being a good neighbor. I think the second thing is just trying to be creative in other touch points. And so one thing we've done recently actually is with the County of Monroe, there's a local electronic waste recycler. We actually have one of our shredding facilities in the Rochester area as well. And so we've partnered as part of that drive through the county to get electronics and batteries through the electronic waste recycler and get the batteries to us. So one of the questions often is like, well, what can I do to be part of that? Or what do you actually do? Like, how do we get these batteries to you? So that was a very practical way to show and say, okay, well, here's electronic waste recycler that we work with commercially. The county's gonna do a drive and they can do this frequently. And it benefits us because then it's additional feed for our spokes. So that's an example where it's a win-win-win of commercial, community, and the actual project. So again, be creative and trying to think long-term, things like that can help.
That's great. Neva?
Yes, I will tell you that one thing that I think is very important is when you have an initiative and you're bringing it up from the ground up, everyone becomes a community relations person. It's not just about one silo of having a department that does that. I have a team of human resource people. There are manufacturing area managers and plant managers, and then there's a whole external affairs department. But we all are involved in that touch point of making that community comfortable in us being there. So I definitely, I want to say that is really important not to have silos in your organization, to make sure that everybody knows that we're all working together to facilitate a great experience, an employee experience for the community. And so that becomes increasingly important. And I think that's where sometimes, things don't go well when there's one group of people who are charged with this. As a business, we're all charged with it, with my team. So I think that's the one thing that I feel like it really promotes teamwork, and it really helps the whole total team understand our presence in the community. It keeps everyone together in terms of our attitude toward building a community and really being a good neighbor.
Great.
Quickly, just to build on that, it's a great point, even for growth companies, right? And so, as an example for us, even as part of our incentive structure for our leadership, there's a communities pillar. And so we've moved to that in addition to things like health and safety and, of course, financial performance and other aspects. But why we did that is because it's that point. If, for example, you're the GM of the plant, that's your responsibility. Because if something happens to the contrary, well, they're going to be held responsible. Mm-hmm. And so when everybody owns it, then it's not just a silo of, okay, well, the community relations person will deal with that, Mm-hmm. It has to be owned from the top. And I think even, again, as a growth company, when you're early, and these things may not even be like in the gamut of what you're thinking about, you're just trying to get the thing built, it is really important because at the end of the day, it drives your time to cash flow. If there's a risk to the opposite, that's exactly what can happen. So you have to manage it through ownership, collective ownership.
Great.
And I want to say that the community is just so much bigger than, the people who are talking mostly. Like, there are veterans in the community, there's diversity in the community. We try to reach out to all aspects of the community and let them know that we embrace and we do welcome, them, give us ideas about how we can reach, different segments of the community. It's very important as a part of a strategy.
Great. So we're actually out of time, but I'm going to do one more question. Yes. I thought this was going to go really slow, but apparently it goes really fast. And I think for us at LPO, we're just trying to figure out how we can carry on this conversation and share best practices and learn from each other, and would love to get a sense from you on what are you thinking about based on today and the conversations?
Well, actually, what I think about is being here for 2 days and really interacting with the whole DOE team. This has really been enlightening for me. I have a lot to take back to my team in terms of what the DOE is offering and just bringing all of the clean initiative people together. And there's so many different parts of this that really can be helpful to look at the big picture of how what you do every day is going to affect this initiative moving forward. And I think for me, that's my takeaway, is that it's so much bigger than just BlueOvalSK, and we're part of a bigger community. And I really appreciate being here because I can now have more information to take back to my team to share that we're part of something bigger than just us. And this conference has really done that for me and opened my eyes to a lot of that.
Great. Ajay?
Yeah, quickly, I'd also make it relatable maybe for some of the companies that might be pursuing loans. Look, it hasn't been a hard process to be, and I'm all about being candid. I think we were doing a lot of things. Amy helped us to organize it and kindly even wrote some things for us. I'm not going to commit her to doing that for everybody. But that's, it just to make the point. It wasn't like there was a ton of stuff that was been forced upon us to say, go do this. I think, frankly, you should already be doing it, even as a growth company and even a mature company. And that's my main takeaway from this.
Great. We're just excited to have this conversation, to bring others into the conversation and to learn about how we're going to impact communities all across the country. So thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.